This is KGW News at noon.
We start today's news at noon with two live looks. One, a cloudy downtown Portland. That's on your right from our Wells Fargo Skycam. The other, on your left there, a cloudy Las Vegas. You see Allegiant Stadium, where Super Bowl 58 will play out Sunday between the San Francisco 49ers and Kansas City Chiefs. Thanks for joining us here at noon. I'm Drew Carney, and we're going to start things off on this end with a look at our weather. So, Rod, not only is it cloudy today in Vegas, the temperatures there are pretty much what we're seeing here this afternoon.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, I'm also a golf fan, and they have a big tournament down in the Phoenix, Arizona area this weekend. And they were delayed because of chilly, wet weather yesterday. So here are the current numbers. Phoenix is up to 56, but there's Las Vegas. Right now, 49. You can see this cooler air mass that dips down into New Mexico, and then all of Nevada. Seattle's 44. Medford is 43 degrees. The clouds extend down into Las Vegas. We still have radar picking up a touch of some very light, traceable amounts of rain out there at the noon hour with the cloudy skies. And if anything, the radar is almost overdone. A lot of what you're seeing here, I think, is borderline sprinkles. The clouds continue to be thick. Let's go to Astoria, 46 degrees. They're reporting some light rain at the airport. We're still wet from the morning light rain on the bricks in downtown Portland. So again, it's 49 in Vegas. We're at 46. And they're cloudy and we're cloudy. At most, just a trace of moisture as we go through the afternoon. I don't expect the clouds to break, so it will be overcast. 48, 49, probably not quite making it to 50 degrees. The weekend, especially tomorrow, looks really nice. We'll have that forecast for you coming up.
Yeah, I was expecting cloudy versus sunny, but it was really just cloudy meets cloudy.
Yeah, exactly right.
All right, Rod, we'll have more from you in about 15 minutes. But right now, we want to get to our local news headlines this afternoon, starting with an update on the Grant Bowl. Portland Parks and Rec and Portland Public Schools have reached an agreement to make improvements and allow community access to that facility. So according to Portland Parks and Rec, the Portland Public School District will now lease Grant Bowl, the track, the upper sports fields, all of that from the Parks and Rec Department. The school district will also be responsible for any renovation, upkeep, and maintenance. Under this new agreement, Grant High School and its feeder schools will once again be able to use the track and the fields, and the school district will handle all permits for public use of the upper and lower fields. Portland Parks and Rec also says the public will still have more than 1,000 community hours of access to Grant Bowl, and the track there, for the most part, will be open to everyone still, as it has been for many years. In Gresham, detectives are investigating what they describe as a serious assault that sent one person to the hospital. It happened around 3:30 this morning near the intersection of Southeast 182nd and Stark. That's where police found the victim suffering from serious injuries, and they were taken to the hospital. According to the police, the injuries were so severe, they activated the major crimes team. Anyone with information about this should call the tip line that we've been showing you here on the screen. There's a new approach underway in downtown Portland to support city firefighters who have typically responded to hundreds of overdose calls each month. KGW's Blair Best had a chance to ride along with members of a new team that was put together to address one of the city's biggest problems.
So we're gonna go patrol the Old Town area. Historically seems to have a higher number of overdoses.
EMT Mandy Boynton and paramedic Justin De Jesus are part of Portland Fire and Rescue's new overdose response team.
We're coming into this with a different mindset.
The pilot project started about a month ago. 10 hours a day, 4 days a week, teams of 2 respond to overdoses downtown instead of firefighters.
I think that it's what the city needs in a more appropriate resource.
Rather than wait for dispatch, this team heads straight to the streets.
People who are, slumped over.
Spotting what many try to ignore.
Obviously, you're looking for breathing, seeing if they're not moving. There's been a lot of just kind of drive-by, happenstance overdoses that we've come up upon.
A man under a sleeping bag catches Mandy's eye on Southwest 5th and Harvey Milk.
It was on the right, at the bus stop.
They circle the block.
Yeah, they're standing up now, but before, they were totally folded over. So that's just kind of that classic sign that, they could, to be honest, be like dosed appropriately where they, have gotten the high that they want. And, but you want to make sure that they're breathing.
As they scan the streets, 2 overdose calls come in, both in deep southeast, which is outside their response zone. So firefighters go instead.
And hopefully we're kind of proving our worth in this, and then we can make an expansion for some other areas that we know could use some relief from the overdose response team.
The team typically goes to about 10 overdoses a day. It's 4 o'clock when they head to one close by on Southwest Salmon Street.
It's like coming up on the left.
It happened inside an apartment building on private property, so we had to wait outside.
So this apartment building here in particular lately has had a lot of drug addicts around.
There has to be a point where, or enough is enough.
We did end up administering a low dose of Narcan and allowed that to take effect. And then we had the ambulance crew come in, and just between the 4 of us, we all assessed him, and he came to and, decided to decline going to the hospital.
It's now the end of their shift.
So we have to have our rigs back and restored by 6 p.m.
But the crisis continues.
They were happening everywhere at all hours, all the time, so it's just because we go home doesn't mean that overdoses and emergencies stop.
Now, while their current hours are clearly limited, the program is growing in other ways. Next week, they'll start offering people who overdosed a drug that will help lessen the withdrawal symptoms. And then a follow-up team will try and get them connected to addiction services the next day. Yet that all depends on the person being willing to accept that help. Blair Best, KGW News.
Also this afternoon, TriMet is supporting a measure that would increase the penalties for using illegal drugs on buses, trains, and at transit stations. It would make that crime a high-level misdemeanor, meaning jail time for up to a year, a $6,000 fine, or both. We spoke to TriMet's chief safety officer about this measure.
If we want to have economic recovery, vitality in the city again, to accomplish all of the climate action goals in the region, we need our ridership to return. And this is another tool to ensure that people feel safe on transit.
The measure could also lead, in many cases, to state-funded drug treatment for anyone caught using drugs on public transit. KGW's John Adams is working on breaking down this measure for us this afternoon. His full report is coming up on KGW News at 5. In national news this afternoon, the Supreme Court continues its work to determine if former President Donald Trump can stay on the primary ballot in Colorado. Meanwhile, the former president grabbed another victory overnight in Nevada. For the latest on all of this, here's NBC's legal correspondent Laura Jarrett.
Donald Trump notching another win overnight in Nevada, winning support from the majority of the state's Republican caucus goers, according to an NBC News projection, appearing likely on the road to a legal victory as well.
Our Supreme Court hopefully will be doing something in terms of helping our country and preserving democracy. And I think they had a very, very interesting day and a very beautiful day.
A divided Supreme Court coalescing in their skepticism over an issue that could upend the presidential race, appearing unwilling to condone the effort to kick Mr. Trump off the presidential ballot.
The question that you have to confront is why a single state should decide who gets to be president of the United States. I mean, that seems quite extraordinary, doesn't it?
Pointed questions like that one for the lawyer representing 6 voters in Colorado, who successfully managed to get the Republican frontrunner disqualified from the state's primary ballot under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which bans those who engaged in insurrection or rebellion from holding public office again.
I've lived a hell of a long time, and I've gone through a lot of presidents, and this is the first one that is trying to destroy the Constitution.
But Thursday's oral arguments less focused on whether Mr. Trump's actions amounted to an insurrection. Instead, the justices appearing more troubled by the prospect of affirming a single state court's decision that could have massive political ramifications nationwide.
What about the idea that we should think about democracy, think about the right of the people to elect candidates of their choice, of letting the people decide, because your position has the effect of disenfranchising voters to a significant degree.
Again, that was NBC's Laura Jarrett reporting for us this afternoon. Now let's get to an update in the Middle East. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said today that he has ordered his military to prepare a plan to evacuate the southern Gaza city of Rafah. That announcement came ahead of a planned ground invasion of the densely populated area. Humanitarian organizations estimate that nearly 1.5 million Palestinians are crammed into Rafah right now. Israel claims that the city is the last remaining stronghold for Hamas.